Hello and welcome to the Gary Dunn Show for Thanksgiving week 2024. I'm your host, Gary Smith, and joined alongside Coach Dunn. And if we're here Thanksgiving week, that means we're going to have two big smiles on our face because we're going to break down this past weekend's NCAA first-round playoff victory over East Stroudsburg. Look at what's going on in the NCAA playoffs in Super Region 1 and break down this upcoming week's opponent, the Ashland Eagles. And Coach, congratulations on a heck of a win. And I teased you and your team all year about cardiac cow and stuff. I think I'm going to buy 58 heart decals, put them on the back because it means two things. One, the games are coming down to the end, but also your team has the heart to pull those out. I mean, it has just been a joy to watch, and Saturday was about all you could ask for in a playoff game.
Yeah, we preached to our guys, we're going to play for 60 minutes. Don't turn the scoreboard off. Don't look up. At the end of the game, we'll look up and see where we're at. We talked to our guys about the process, not about the results. And our guys battled, competed all day long. Got a couple breaks at the end, and it ended the way we wanted it to. But great to be playing football over Thanksgiving weekend. It's every coach this time of year is what you don't want to be going to family dinner. You want to be playing football. So we're excited to move on.
Well, we'll break down the game like we usually do. We'll start in the first half, and we all talked last week on the show last week. I'm sure everyone was talking, Cal fans and everything about the game. We knew it was going to be close.
Sure.
It's a team East Stroudsburg played the last 3 years, or 2 years, and then this year would be 3 years in a row. Conference opponent, a lot of film. Feel like both teams knew each other, and that's kind of how it was in the first half. East Stroudsburg goes down, score. You guys put together a couple scores, but you go into halftime pretty close, and it was going to be. But what was it like going out to take the field for the beginning of that playoff game?
Just excited for our guys, and we, give East Stroudsburg credit that what they do and what their coaching staff has done. They're a complete team. They put a lot of pressure on defenses with motions and formations and motion out to empty and then motion, and I thought we handled it well. I don't know that we played assignment football as good as we could have on defense, but it was just one of those games that in the first half. We just didn't execute in the red zone, and we had to settle for a couple field goals. Defense was battling, and it was a good first half. The difference in the first half was they scored touchdowns and we kicked field goals, and that was really the difference in the first half. You flip it over to halftime, I talked to the team, we just got to be better in the red zone. Defense, we need to stop in the red zone. Offense, we got to quit settling for field goals. Felt really good about it because I think we were down 8 at halftime. Knew we were getting the football. Offense, they hadn't stopped the offense yet. We had shot ourselves in the foot a couple times in the red zone. So, okay, we're down 8. And I talked to the guys at halftime, how many minutes do we play around here? They said, we play 60. I said, all right, we got 30 more to play. Put a great drive together, get on the field and score to cut it to 2. I probably chased points too quick. Probably should have kicked the extra point there, but we had talked about it at halftime. We had a call that we liked all week. That we were going to go for 2. Didn't quite execute it the way we wanted it to, but now we're back in the game and we're down 2.
And honestly, you said you might have went for a little too early, but as the game unfolded, that kind of benefited because East Stroudsburg later, I don't know if it was the next drive or 2 drives after that, goes down and score. And they have a chance for an extra point to go up 9, 2 possessions with about 18 minutes left. They missed the extra point, and I tell you what, you could just almost feel like a surge in the stadium. What was it like on the sideline? Because that's a huge psychological difference. 2 possessions, 1 possession.
Yeah, for sure. And I felt really good about it because our offense was moving the ball. We only punted 1 time the entire day. So we felt really good about it. We just knew we needed to get a stop on defense. But when they missed the extra point, that obviously does change the complexion of the game. Now it's a 1-possession game. We get the ball, go right back down and score. Now, because I chased points early, I've got to continue to chase points. And that's the I wish I had analytics guys like in the NFL. It's kind of at our level, it's a little bit of a gut, a little bit of a feel. But once you go for that first 2-point conversion, now you're going to chase it the rest of the day. So Davis made a heck of a read on a play. Amari did a heck of a job getting open. So we get on and score. Now it's all tied up after we get the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, I know the feeling. We were talking about it during the commercial break after that 2-point conversion was successful. I'm like, with your offense, 2 chances for a 2-point conversion. If you miss the first one, odds are the second one's going to convert just because, good schemes, but you also have great players out there making decisions.
Yeah, they executed. And that whole drive was really well done. I thought Davis Black played really, really well. Our receivers, they had kind of they're going to take Eric Willis out of the game and shadowed him with their best corner, and we're putting the safety on top of him. So we talked about it all year. Other guys got to step up. Demont Martin made some great catches. Maury Hopkins had some big catches. Diave Johnson had a big, back shoulder fade catch on a 3rd and forever. Jack Kalechi had 4 or 5 catches. So, I like our balance that if you're going to try and take Eric Willis out of the game, then you're going to have to defend those other guys one-on-one, and they were winning their matchups.
I think you're selling those catches short because there were a couple move the chain catches in that game that, if it was 80 degrees and sunny, there'd be great catches, but in the wind and the elements, and up against a sideline and against a playoff secondary, to make those catches and keep the chains moving.
Yeah, I thought the offense executed all day. I thought the run game was solid. We didn't have any huge run games, but it was 5, it was 6, it was 8, it was 10. I thought Bobby Boyd played really well. He kind of gave us a spark there in the run game, and I thought Davis played well. And give the O-line credit because East Stroudsburg is a good front. They're a 10-1 team. Their only loss right now is to Kutztown. They were winning most of that game and ended up losing to Kutztown by a touchdown. They're a really, really good football team that's well coached. So the offense executed, and then it's kind of been the story all year. When we needed to get a stop, you go back to the Clarion game. We needed to get a couple stops. We got them. So. We talked to the defense. All right, we're going to put the first 3.5 quarters behind us. Let's go out there and get a stop, and they got one. And it was a huge stop to force them to kick a field goal into the win. I thought the thing that surprised me was they won the toss and took the ball, which meant we had to take the ball in the second half. So I assumed their coach would take the win in the 4th quarter, and he didn't. He took it in the 3rd. Okay. So when we got out of that 3rd tied up, I thought the win would be a factor late in the game, and it was. The field goal they tried, he kind of pushed it. It hit the upright and bounced out. So now we've got the ball with just under 5 minutes to play, all tied up, and we got to go put a drive together.
And I tell you what, Coach, I know you've seen millions of games of football. I've seen a ton, but when that ball hit the upright, that was one of the loudest. I don't know if that's foreshadowing or what, something crazy, but it was almost like a title fight bell going off because you guys get the ball back. I think it was like 3.5 minutes, maybe around that, and you go down, and you got to know that you got 82 on the sideline waiting. If you don't break something or break something long, but that was a great drive because it wasn't like you had to go 20 yards. You had about 40 yards to go to get.
Yeah, no, and it's funny. I talked to Anthony Beacoat before the game, like I always do. I said, "All right, give me where you at?" He said, "With the wind, I'm good from 50." He said, and Anthony has a little more confidence. And he said, "From the other way, I'm good for 45." And I was like, "Well, that might be a little bit. I'll give you the wind aided 50, 45 into the wind. I'm not sure about." So when that drive started, I told Coach Salisbury, you got to get us to the 30-yard line for us to have a chance to make a kick, which would have been a 47-yard kick. But the offense just executed. Davis Black did a great job, and he's Mr. Cole under pressure in those 2-minute drills. I don't know how many. You go back to the Seton Hill game, tied up with 5 minutes left to go. We need a drive, and we get on and score. You go back to the Clarion game. Overtime against Indiana. I like our guys in a 2-minute situation. He trusts his guys to make plays. Demont Martin made a heck of a catch. Amari had a big catch. Bobby had a couple runs. So it was a good drive. And we get down to whatever it was, the 23-yard line. And it's funny. We work situational football every Thursday. So, different plays that the game could come down to. We work it every Thursday. And that particular play, we centered the ball to get the ball in the middle of the field for Anthony Beacoat. I think it's the first time we've ran it. We've been practicing that. Coach Salisbury practices it every Thursday. Since 2016, he's practiced it every Thursday. So our guys knew, all right, we're going to center the ball here. We're going to kick this game-winning field goal, and let's get the heck out of here and get on to round 2.
And I tell you what, you had a timeout left, caught up with 3 seconds left. East Stroudsburg, I believe, was out of timeout, so there's no chance that there was going to be any, trying to ice the kicker or anything like that. So as soon as you call the timeout, we had a shot of Anthony coming on the field, and I tell you what, if you look at the replay, he hits it dead. There was no doubt, it dead center of the lift, and that's just an amazing finish to an amazing game.
Super happy for Anthony. That kid is one of our hardest workers, and sometimes during his career, I've had to tell him back off, stop kicking so much. He wants to kick every day. He wants to, during the summer. That kid is one of our hardest workers, and super happy for him and his family that he had that opportunity to kind of finish that game off. I didn't even know it. He said that was his first game winner in college,
Oh, wow.
which was big. I mean, he's made some big kicks around here, but obviously none in walk-off fashion in the NCAA playoffs. But super happy for him because he put the work in. He's a good example for our kids. When you work and you work and you work at your craft, you get better. And those moments aren't too big for him because he's put the work in. So. Great snap, great hold, great kick. Protection was great. You know, it was just, executed the way we practice it.
And the celebration was amazing. The only thing, as soon as it went through, I looked up. I'm like, please let there not be 1 second, because you never know in football.
Yeah. Well, it was funny when I called the timeout. I told the official, I said, all right, we're going to put the ball in the middle. I'm going to call a timeout here. And he said, all right, when do you want it? And I said, I want this to be the last play of the game. He said, 3 seconds? I said, 3 seconds is perfect. So that was going to be the last play of regulation regardless. But Anthony did a great job. We weren't putting our kickoff team back out there. So awesome.
And it was a great scene after the game. We'll talk about it a little more. I felt a little bit bad leaving the stadium. I ran into Anthony's dad, and he was trying to talk to me. And I think I was still in shock about everything that was going on. So we'll talk before the game on Saturday. But let's take a look back, Coach, at highlights from this past weekend's action, and then we'll break down everything going on for this upcoming week's Division II playoff round 2 against Ashland. You're watching the Gary Dunn Show on CUTV. The 2024 NCAA Division II football playoffs march on into round 2. This Saturday as your California Vulcans play host to the Ashland Eagles at 1 p.m. at Adamson Stadium. Tickets will be sold day of the game at the stadium, and for all other game day information, follow Cal Vulcans on all social media platforms. The game will be aired exclusively on ESPN+.
Vulcan Nation, we need you this Saturday, 1 o'clock at Adamson Stadium for our second round of the NCAA playoffs. Go Vulcans.
Kick is up. Final score.
So proud of you guys. Guess what? We get to play again next weekend. Don't give in.
We'll see who we can get ready for next week. He made it.
Let's go!
Let's go!
Let's go! We're at the crib!
And welcome back to the Gary Dunn Show. Gary Smith, Coach Dunn, and we broke down everything pertaining to the first-round playoff matchup against East Stroudsburg. Coach, before we turn the page to Ashland, let's take a look at what else happened in Super Region 1 in the games. Slippery Rock, New Haven, Slippery Rock gets the win. And then the game, other than the Cow game that everyone was watching, at least the score was Charleston and Ashland. And I'm sure if Ashland does a coach's show, they're talking about the same thing, a walk-off field goal as no time was on the clock. And, you know, so this weekend you have Slippery Rock going to Kutztown, Ashland coming to California. But, Coach, one of the cool things Saturday is after the game, all the games kicked off at 1 o'clock, so they were all about the same time. There was a lot of scoring in the Ashland game, so we finished about 15, 20 minutes before that game. So you could see pockets of people watching the game on their phones. And as soon as that, I was up in the press box, and as soon as the game was over, I heard people cheering. And I'm like, that either means one of two things. One, going back to Charleston, or two, getting a home playoff game. And
no,
it was pretty much instant that it was going to be home.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. As we got done, my wife and daughter came out on the field, and I said, I gave him a hug, and I said, Sydney, look at the score, see what the score is. So it was actually Ashland was up a touchdown, and they had the ball with like 2 minutes left. And so I told the team, hey, we're moving on, and we might be here. Well, by the time they got into the locker room, and I was talking to some alumni and visiting with our president, Charleston had scored to take the lead. So I was like, I probably shouldn't have told the team that. Then 5 minutes later, everyone starts cheering because Ashland made the field goal, and why wouldn't we be here? This has been the craziest. We've been home for a month and a half now. But no, it's exciting. And our guys would have been ready to go to Charleston. We're excited to play Ashland, but obviously we're excited to be at home.
Now, Ashland, not an opponent we've seen in decades, if at all, going back through the records from the GMAC out of Ohio. If you look at the stats from Saturday's game, offense, I mean, they have some players.
Sure.
I know you've been spending the last 48 hours since that game ended, probably breaking down film and looking at stats. As we always do, let's take a look at their offense. They put up numbers.
Enormous offensive line. I think one kid's under 310 pounds. I think the strength of their offense is their front five. Older, experienced quarterback that does a really good job, has weapons on the outside. They're a lot like us. They're going to try and be a balanced offense. They want to run it and throw it. They're going to take some shots down the field. But it all kind of starts with them, to me, with their quarterback and their offensive line. They had one receiver, I think he had well over 200 yards against Charleston. And the funny was, it wasn't like there was two 90-yard plays. I mean, he just had chunk play after chunk play after chunk play, and you can tell him and the quarterback are really good together. But, out of the GMAC, champions of the GMAC, this time of year, whoever you're playing is going to be good. Offensively, very explosive, put a ton of points on the board against Charleston on the road, in the rain. So that tells you how good their offense is.
And turning on to the other side of the ball, defensively, what do they remind you of anybody in the PSAC?
Yeah, probably Kutztown. Very similar as far as structure of defense to Kutztown. They're going to start in a two high safety shell. They will blitz. They don't blitz a ton. I think their two defensive end outside linebacker guys are really, really good pass rushers, number 99 and number 2. We just get after the quarterback, especially on passing downs. You can see their motor just never stops. So, they're going to start in a two high safety structure. They'll roll to some one high. They'll play some man coverage. They do a lot of, combination coverage. It might be cover 4 to one side, cover 2 to another side, what we call 4 steals, where kind of both safeties are pushing to trips. Just really, really solid defensively. I think they're giving up, I want to say 16 points a game, allowing less than 100 yards rushing a game. I think it's like 98 yards rushing, just around 300 total yards a game. So really stingy defense. But this time of year, I mean, they're still playing for a reason. They've played. The one thing about them, probably similar to us, they played a really tough schedule. They had Ferris State, who's a national playoff team, I think the number 1 seed in that region. They played Findlay, who was a 9-2 team. They played Tiffin, who was a 9-2 team, kind of similar to us with Slippery Rock as a 10-1 team. Kutztown, an 11-0 team. East Stroudsburg, a 10-1 team. They did play Indiana early in the year. The first game of the year was against Indiana. So, they know what the PSAC is all about, and they've played Indiana the last couple of years.
And I tell you what, Coach, as you said earlier, if you're playing this time of year, there's no bad teams. And we also know, we always talk about the third phase, special teams, which both Us and them both won,
Yeah,
so we know that they're clutch as well.
Yeah, that's one area we're still working on. They do a really good job with special teams. Their kickers really good. So that's a thing we're going to contend to. They do a punt out of their offensive formation. So anywhere in between once they pass their own 40, they're going to line up in an offensive formation. And if you put a punt returner back, they're going to run it and go for it on fourth down. If you don't, then they're going to punt it. So that's a deal that's got us, thinking they play field possession so well with that weapon. It's their backup quarterback who's a left-footed punter. So they'll line up in an offensive formation, and if you put a returner back there, they're going for it on fourth down. If you don't, then they're going to punt it and get a ton of rolls. So that's a weapon for them. I think their cover teams are really good. They do a good job of rushing the punter. They've got a couple block punts on the year. So we're going to have to be on our details on special teams. Going back to special teams on Saturday, I thought we played really well on special teams. I thought we chart the four main special teams. I thought our kickoff return team won. I thought our kickoff team won. Thought our punt return team won, and we only punted one time. So, and then obviously our field goal team did a heck of a job. So special teams will be a big part of this. It always is this time of year.
And last two things, Coach, before we wrap up. The first thing is, obviously, we all know this is Thanksgiving week. Playoff games are always going to be logistical tests just from everything. I know we've been in a bunch of meetings and stuff, but, it's Thanksgiving week. What is that, just having a holiday in the middle of the week, what does that do for preparation or change the timeline or anything like that on your end?
Yeah, luckily we've been here before, so we're going to move practice up. We're going to keep our normal schedule today, tomorrow, Wednesday. We're going to move practice up to 11 o'clock on Thursday and give our local guys a chance, if they want to go home for Thanksgiving dinner, a chance to go home. Me and my wife and daughter are going to host everybody else at our house for Thanksgiving. So if you'd like to stop over for Thanksgiving dinner, what's one more? We're probably going to have
dessert.
Well, we're going to have 60 or 70 guys at the house. What's one more? But no, my family's extremely excited. I tried to talk my wife out of it. So why don't you make the food and we'll do it somewhere on campus? And apparently that wasn't an option. We're going to do it at the house. So that should be interesting. But we're going to give them a chance to go home if they want to and host everybody at our house. And then we'll get kind of back on a regular schedule on Friday, but give them, practice Thursday morning and then give them the lunch and dinner off.
The last thing to talk about is, something that affects both teams is going to be the weather. We've been lucky. All these games at home been nice. Last week, probably the worst weather we had, but it wasn't overly cold. However, Saturday, the early temperatures are about 30 degrees and possible. I mean, how far out do you look at that for game planning purposes, or is it just we're going to do what we do and it doesn't matter what comes from the skies?
There's nothing we can do about it. Both teams are going to have to play in it. I think it's going to be chilly. It doesn't look like there's any participation in at least right now. I'm hoping the sun will be out. If the sun's out, it'll feel warmer than last week, right? Because it was cold and damp and windy. So. But this time of year, we play an outdoor sport, so we're going to play no matter what the weather is.
So that means tailgaters, let's get some chili, let's get some turkey left over, some stuffing, let's get the hot beverages going. But once again, the only way to watch this game live and in person is at Adamson Stadium, 1 o'clock this Saturday. If you can't make it, once again, the CTV broadcast will be on ESPN+, so check your local cable providers, or not your cable providers. That's like a 20-year-old plea right there. Make sure you have the apps and everything that you need to watch that. But again, the only guaranteed surefire way to see the game is to come up to Adamson Stadium. And Coach, I know you and your team have said the entire year, like I said, the crowd was a little smaller on Saturday due to the weather, but it got a lot of points, and I think it affected points of the game.
Yeah. Oh, there's no doubt, and I'm excited. Everyone's got probably Thursday off and Friday off from work, so spend time with the family over Thanksgiving, and then get to Adamson Stadium on Saturday morning. Game time will be 1 o'clock, so get up there early Saturday morning. It's going to be a great day. This team is really fun to watch. The way they play and how they battle and how they compete is really impressive, and I know we'll have a great crowd, and I know our alumni will be here.
So once again, Saturday, Adamson Stadium, California versus Ashland, NCAA Division II playoff second round. So for Coach Dunn, I'm Gary Smith. We'll see you at Adamson Stadium, and go Vulcans.